pretty sure you all know by now that a big factor of whether you're gonna win or lose is draft phase. And if we compare our team comps, it's basically a game of rock, paper, scissors. For example, they have Harith, but we have Saber to counter this. However, they also have Kaja, which in my opinion could counter Saber. And then we also have Fredrin on our side. But they have two really good mage heroes that kind of counter this, which is Harith and Lunox. Lunox especially because of her HP based damage. Now going into this match, it's very obvious that we could expect to be losing the early game, because I feel like their team comp is just way better than ours. But obviously it could come down to how we play it. So let's see. Since they have Chip, it's very, very important to let your teammates know where he is at all times. The moment you lose track of him, you can expect to get wiped out in very specific situations. And especially since this is solo queue, communication is going to be very hard. But I do feel like Selena can deal with this relatively well, depending on how well you utilize her skill 1 and 2. I really wanted to let the Chip attack me, so if Lunox saw Chip attacking me, I might be able to bait her out. And well, it works, but we're not able to kill her, because we don't have enough damage for now.
Take care of your fragile soul. Darkness is coming. First blood.
Here I'm trying to be patient and wait and see if anyone enters a certain bush or a certain area. However, they don't, and I just end up rotating instead. It's always important to check the bushes, or else you might find a rat in your face. I'm gonna admit, this play was kind of embarrassing. Now that I look back at it, I don't know what I was trying to do. However, the Saber decided to leave a very nice remark. Just because you lose a team fight in the early game doesn't mean you lost the game. If anything, it sets you up to do even better, or to play a bit more passively instead of aggressively.
Either survive or perish.
Initially, I thought that Lunox was going to be in the mid lane, but apparently they're actually ganking our jungler. I honestly didn't see that coming.
Initiate retreat. For mercy.
Only problem with camping in this specific scenario is that they have Ascension, so he can just ult and he'll know where everyone is. And that is low-key a problem, trying to surprise my enemies. I noticed on the minimap that Chip was going to enter the middle bush, and this allowed me to hit an easy snipe. I knew exactly where he was coming from and what he was going to do.
We're behind you. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
Now, it may not be that noticeable, but Chip was on the minimap for a millisecond. With this info in mind, I had to warn my team. I knew it could take him a bit to get to us, and by the time he reached us, I ended up pinging on the minimap. With 3 enemies dead, including their jungler, this was basically a free turtle. you know where Chip is coming from, then he can't really surprise you. This is why I think Selena's really good against him. Again, in very specific scenarios. Who's better at stopping surprises than the Queen of Surprises? Before you recall, it's always important to place down a trap. It doesn't matter if it's in a really weird area or bush, just place it down. I know that obviously I should let our XP laner clear her lane, but she didn't clear it before to the point where her tower was under attack. So I just want to make sure that her lane is defended. So I guess I'm sorry if I'm stealing XP or gold. I do agree that I could have been more attentive towards his lane. However, we still traded the top tower for the bottom tower. Since YSS is really low, I just want to try bait him out and give him no routes to escape. Again, Chip appeared on the map for a millisecond, so it's important to let your teammates know. At this point, I already know that Hearth uses Purify, so there's no need to be scared. Again, Chip appeared on the map. However, we were kind of fortunate because we chain CC'd him, so we couldn't really do much. They definitely had a very good team comp to make this game a nightmare. Just because you lose a few fights in the early game does not mean you lost the game. And in the end, we still ended up dominating the enemies because we played it right. They made little to no mistakes. However, considering their team comp, things could have looked way worse for us. Especially with that chip who's trying to surprise us multiple times.